Hey everyone, it's Christine Gritmon here from Christine Gritmon Inc. And I'm here today with Social, the show that I do live every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time, talking about social media and one particular topic each week with a very special guest who is an expert in that topic. However, I do need to note that while I'm really excited that I got my show back up and running, I started this show back in April of 2017. I'm so excited I got it back up and running, but I'm about to be recovering from surgery. I'm getting my tonsils out next week. However, the show is not stopping. I still want you guys to be watching, tuning in Friday at noon. So here's what I'm doing. Next week, I have a great guest host. My friend Doreen Morin Van Dam is going to be hosting, and she is a special guest, Azure Collier. And they're going to be talking about content strategy, which is super important, relevant to everything. And there's also going to be a very special announcement that Doreen is making. So you're going to want to tune in next Friday, 12 noon for Doreen. And then the following week, Friday, February 1st, I want you really to give some love to Mr. Gregory Gritmon of the Nyack Gritmons, because he is going to be talking about social media. I have yet to officially line up a guest for him yet because I've had so many things going on before the surgery. But make sure to give my guest host lots of love over the next 2 weeks. And I will be back. My voice might be a little lower, but that's okay. It's got some room to get lower. It's kind of high. I expect to be back on Friday, February 8th. We'll see how that goes. I may hold up signs. Who knows? We'll see. I may pull a Wile E. Coyote. Might drop some anvils. Some social media marketing anvils. Boom. Anyway, so here we go. I'm going to share this on my page because I stupidly set this up through my profile, not my page. So my page needs to see it. And then we're going to get to this week's guest, who is an expert on publishing, because he is not only a publisher, he is also a published author and also has a podcast on Begin Self-Publishing, right? Or starts up Begin Self-Publishing. Yes,
yeah,
Tim?
Begin Self-Publishing. See the little thing in the back there.
All right, Tim Lewis from Stoneham Press in London, England. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. It's 5 o'clock here, so it's a
yes. Thank you so much for delaying that 5 o'clock drink, or you don't have to delay it if it's right next to you. Bring it on. It's all good. We're very casual here at Christine Gritmon Inc. at Social. So I brought Tim on because, of course, nowadays, if you want to get your thoughts out there, you don't necessarily need to be given an opportunity to get your thoughts out there. You can have a blog. You can have a live show every Friday on Facebook Live. You can have a podcast. You can do all manner of things to get your expertise out there and establish thought leadership, which is something we talked about last week. But just like last week, Philomena and I talked about how earned media still does something for you that your own digital presence cannot do for you. We're going to talk today about how writing a book is really something special, possibly even more so in this age where everyone can get their thoughts out however they like. So, Tim, I'd like to talk. I'd like to hear, first of all, how you got into publishing.
Purely by accident.
Okay.
Well, I say that by accident. It was intentional, but it wasn't my original intention. Mm-hmm. So I was widowed in 2011, and then I eventually gave up work in 2014, thinking that I was going to be doing IT contract work. Mm-hmm. But during my notice period, I read this book called Write, Publish, Repeat, where these self-publishers were talking about how they were like churning out all of these sort of fantasy and industrial fantasy sort of thrillers and other books on a monthly basis, and they were doing self-publishing as a business. And I was thinking, well, I've always wanted to write fiction. So I in that 2014, I wrote 3 time travel novellas. The first one actually, they're all in the Time Shock series. The first one actually got to number 10 in the UK time travel chart in the UK. And
I should have had your books at the ready right here. Oh, I'm a very unprepared.
No, I've got my latest one here, so I can be like. I mean, this is one of the reasons why physical books are so good. You can hold the thing up.
You absolutely can. It's huge.
Yeah, it's a physical. Well, I mean, it's not actually that big. It's like
but
but
it
if I
looms
go
large.
like that, then it is big, and it's there is something about tactile, physical things that makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
So anyway, let me carry on my story.
Okay, sorry, your story.
So I did those 3 time travel novellas, and then in the years afterwards, I did, because it's not because I'm a slow writer. I'm quite a quick writer. I just don't write that much. I end up going to conferences a lot of the time and doing social media. Became way more interested in the marketing side and the mechanics of self-publishing than the actual writing fiction. But I wrote 3 fantasy novels in the 3 further years, and then last year I wrote I collected information and then wrote the social media networking book, which has stories from 20 individuals, one of them being the lovely Christine Gritmon.
On page
her chapter is one of the longest actually in the book.
I talk a lot. I need to point out it's page 69. Can you open up to show the folks at home the best page in the whole damn book?
Yeah, the funny thing is, I'm kind of like, I can't really reformat anything in the start of the book because it would change your. So there,
very memorable.
You may notice, I don't know where the page number is, but anyway, so. I mean, this is like an anthology. This is a book basically with 20 stories where I interviewed people, and I talked about people who were trying to use social media to actually get ahead as an individual. So getting a promotion or getting work out of social, rather than the old, let's set up a social funnel and try and sell things. Because I've been terrible at trying to sell books online.
Yeah. The funnel's a flywheel now. According to HubSpot, it's a flywheel now.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my background really. So I'm somebody who started off as a fiction writer, and I may go back to rewriting fiction books because arguably there's more money in fiction. It's just that people who are making money in fiction tend to be people who are churning out a book a month. And they are doing it almost on an industrial basis.
Yeah.
In non-fiction, it's very much more about the other benefits to writing a book rather than the sales.
And let's talk about that. What are some of those benefits and how are they unique to books? Like, why books?
Well, I wouldn't say they're unique to books. Like having a live show or having a conference or having something tangible makes a big difference in terms of authority. I mean, it's the same if you've got an article in the New York Times or something, or you've got a column in the New York Times. That gives you credibility.
That's a bigger deal than like a blog.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the great problem with anything to do with marketing or online business is that you want something that is fairly rare and requires effort to do, and a lot of people don't want to do or are afraid to do. And writing a book is fundamentally one of those things because it is a project. It's not a particularly difficult project to do, actually, but a lot of people are intimidated and they don't get to the point of actually either finishing the book, and finishing a book is hard because you need really to structure the book when you're writing it. And then the whole, are you going to submit it to agents and try and go the traditional route? Or are you going to go to the self-publishing side of things and then have to work out what the hell you need to do there? So the fact that people don't do it means that having a book makes a big difference in terms of credibility and authority, as compared to most other kind of. As I say, you were talking last week. It's like earned media is a similar thing. If you get like you're featured on, I don't know, some major TV show in the US. I think actually having an article having a column in the New York Times would be bigger than just appearing on like some sort of morning chat show. That's
huge because then you're part of their archives forever. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. But I mean, a book is a very relatively easy way to build authority. I say easy, I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's for the benefit you get from an authority point of view, especially if you're the first person to write a book on that subject.
Oh, that's got to be tricky to do, but yeah,
exactly. So
you're defining your space.
Yeah, so that's why books are good. And I mean, they don't have to be physical books, but
that's true. There are books.
We've seen like you've got this thing you can hold up. I mean, I took 20 of these books to Market Ed Live and they were all gone, and at one point I thought I wasn't going to be able to give you a copy.
Yes, I almost didn't get one, and I signed books, which was very cool. I'm gonna put up Jean's comment here. Book as business card is a great concept I've heard about before. And that's very true, because that really leaves such a lasting impression. It's one thing to give people information for how they can reach out to you, but it's another thing entirely to give them something that's going to actually deliver value to them. I'm going to look a little bit through the things here. Oh yeah, and Clarice asked, did you get an editor to proofread your book before publishing it, since you did self-publish your own books?
I did, even though it's my mum, and she used to be an editor about 20 years ago. Well, about 50 years ago.
It's so good to have smart mothers. My smart mother is some things too.
But there were some mistakes in it, because it was all a bit... The funny thing about this book was that I used a different approach to force me to finish it in time. Because I actually interviewed people originally, most of the people. I interviewed you later on. I think I interviewed you in sort of April, May time last year. I
butted May way in at the end. I heard all the cool kids were going to be in your book, and I said, I want to be in with the cool kids.
Yeah. But most people I was interviewing like October the year before, and I had these interviews just sitting on my hard drive with all the audio. And in the end, I was like, well, I've got to get this book finished. So I put it on 90-day pre-order on Amazon. So the advantage is I finished it and I got the book out. The disadvantage is there were a few corners cut at time. So yes, the latest copy has no known spelling mistakes or issues with it, because I've got it proofread again. But
it's in the second edition already.
Wow, yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I mean, actually, to official second edition, you need to change all the ISBN numbers and go and register it. So I've just updated it as minor corrections.
I mean, you could do this as an annual thing if you wanted to, just because everyone's got more stories. We're both going to have more stories, in a couple months, because we're both going to a few conferences. Including in March, we're both going to Atomicon in Newcastle, England. So on your side of the pond, and then we're both going to be on my side of the pond. Yes. Not even my side, the whole other end of practically to another pond, at Social Media Marketing World in San
Diego.
Yes, I need to make sure to put my affiliate link in there for Social Media Marketing.
Has anybody clicked on your affiliate? Because I've never ever sold any.
Nobody has clicked on my affiliate link, but I don't care. I still love shouting it off the rooftops, because I absolutely adore Social Media Marketing World. Let me get into my comments here. But it's great, and that's technically where we met, even though we didn't really. We were in the same crowd of people at the happy hour the night before, but we didn't really talk until afterwards, because there's so many people there and so many great people to meet, and we had met a lot of the same great people, and so we figured we should know each other, and now we're all over the globe together, which is lovely. So back to books, I would like to talk a little bit more about why one should consider writing a book, and about self-publishing. How is going the self-publishing route different from the traditional route? Because self-publishing, it's always existed, but it's really blown up in the past few years because of technological access. So let's talk a bit about why someone would want to write a book, and then about the self-publishing avenue.
Well, why would you want to write a book? Well, as I say, there's authority. And certainly for things like, I know if you go to the session at Social Media Marketing World where they talk about how to become a speaker there, which actually I'm not really bothered about becoming a speaker at Social Media Marketing World.
Oh, I'm dying to. That's my big brass ring for 2020. I would love to.
But one of the things they say is, have you written a book? They look to see if you've written a book on the topic. So if you pick something really niche, or niche, or however you want to pronounce it, then you write a book on it, and you'll say like you Twitter advertising or something like that, where there are not many people who are doing Twitter advertising, then that gives you a way to show your authority on that topic.
Yeah, you literally wrote the book on it. Yeah,
exactly. And it also means for media, and like, I mean, I think I got my my speaking gig at Cambridge Social Media Day from this book, because Lenka saw my book and was given a copy at Market Ed Live. So that gives you a way to get like speaking gigs and to basically and potentially earn media as well. I need to spend more time on that.
I met with someone recently, a college student who had applied for an internship of mine a couple of years ago. She and I got together for coffee a couple months ago just to kind of get my advice on career stuff. And she wrote a book as part of a class in college, but she actually did get it published. And I said, okay, you need to be writing that as hard as you possibly can. You need to ride on that achievement. You need to send that book to people. You need to see if local media will cover, a little profile on local girl writes book. And here's what it's about. You need to send that to PR agencies. You need to send that to people in the industry who the book is written about.
Yeah.
Because hers was specifically about how social media has changed the way restaurants work. Yeah. And I said, that is a hot topic. There are a lot of industry people who would love that. You should be sending it to people who do marketing consulting for the hospitality industry, because maybe they'll bring you in. It's a really good way to get in the door, to prove your expertise and to show that she could see something through. I mean, that's just amazing.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. For people who, because there's always a problem for people who are new, like the people who are recent graduates, and it's like they can't get a job because they haven't got an experience, and they can't get any experience because they haven't had a job.
Yes.
So something like having a book in that situation is a perfect example of skipping over that barrier. But then that comes down to social media networking, which I should be doing more of with my book, where you actually reach out to people and you connect and you find. Anyway.
So Sue's saying it shows you have something to say. It takes time and effort to sit down and write, and that tells people something about you. Absolutely, 100%. Though, to Simon's point, judging by some of the books he's read, you don't necessarily have to have anything worthwhile to say to write a book. You can just write it. It's true.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you can. You don't need to actually, you can do like an anthology book where you just interview loads of people and say, I mean, I think you do need really, if you want. I mean, there is I heard another self-publishing podcast, a guy called Paul Teague, who was saying that he worked out that actually marketing the book is as important, in fact, sometimes more important than the actual content of the book, because you can have the best book in the world, but if nobody ever reads it, they won't know it's the best book in the world.
And to that end, the handsome Mr. Gregory Gritmon has a question. When do you give the book away versus selling it? Because I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people who we're mutually friends with in our industry. I know some people who are constantly doing book giveaways and things of that nature. So how do you have that balance there?
Well, the cynical answer is to say you try and sell it, and if you can't sell it, you give it away. But I mean, you've got to look at who you're giving the book to. I mean, if you're just giving the books out willy-nilly, if you give books out and somebody writes a review on Amazon for it, then that makes a much bigger difference than somebody who's just going to or somebody who tweets positively about it once they've read the book.
Yeah, as Gina's saying below, give it away to the super fans who will talk it up and do the selling for you. And Greg has pointed out that another advantage is you can become a reference in other people's writing, which is fantastic. So you can send it to people who might do that. Now, Clarice wants to know when the best time is to start marketing the book. You marketed it before you finished it, which might be a technique.
Well, the best, it's a bit like the old Chinese proverb of like the best time to plant a tree was a year ago, but the next best time is now. So, I mean, there are people like on Apple iBooks, which is a rival store to Amazon. They actually suggest putting the book on pre-order a whole year ahead and start marketing the book then. Most of us are too disorganized to actually do it that far ahead. But even something as simple as setting up an emailing list or something like that beforehand and building up people, because the way that most book charts work is it's all about sales over a short sustained period. So if you get like 100 sales one day and then 200 the next day and 300 the next day, so you don't want to be having like 1 or 2 sales over like a year. You want them over a short period of time. So that is where you're almost like, it's like pumping up a tire. You're pumping something up until your book release, and then you let it all down in one go. And that's what you want for book. That's the way the book marketing works. And I've totally not mastered it, because I'm always end up like in a big chaotic mess beforehand, thinking, oh yeah, maybe I should.
Publish children have no shoes. That's how it goes when it's your own thing. I hear you.
But to come back to to answer your, in the 10 minutes or so left, to answer your question about self-publishing versus traditional publishing.
Yes.
Because I think that's important. Self-publishing changed quite fundamentally in about 2009 to 2011. I wasn't self-publishing then. I mean, you could self-publish anything and have success in those days. There was a bit of a Kindle gold rush. But
good point. E-readers changed a lot.
Yeah, two things happened. There was the Kindle devices appeared, and you could self-publish a book on Kindle, which is Amazon's like ebook format, and they paid like 70% royalties.
Wow.
So if your book is over $2.99 and under $9.99, then you get paid 70% royalties minus a small delivery charge, which is a bit of a scam, to be honest. Yeah. But that's one of the things that Amazon does. A traditionally published ebook, the publisher will pay you like 20% of the royalties. So, yeah, you can see why there is a financial incentive to self-publish. Now, the reason why traditional publishers pay such low royalties is because they're taking a risk on people. You're not paying the editing costs. You're not paying for the cover design.
And there's marketing costs too. They market it for you.
Well, I mean, if you talk to a lot of traditional authors, you find out actually a lot of them, unless you're very like sort of Stephen King, they don't market the book.
Oh, wow. For you. Oh, that's one of the big advantages they thought that they had. I guess they don't. All right. Good to know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you do have the advantage that you are, say, like Random House or whatever, and you've got that prestige of being a traditional publisher. So again, if you're really just looking for prestige, and there's a lot to be said for traditional publishing. But from a financial point of view, if your book is very successful, you'll get much less money. You get paid. People say, "Oh, you get paid in advance," but an advance typically is sort of $500 to $2,000 or something like that. A typical book.
You're not going to retire on your book advance generally.
No. And that's in advance. So any royalties you earn are taken out of that. So you only get extra money once you go over that amount of.
It's like a deductible.
Yeah. Well, if you're self-publishing the book, then you are responsible for the project management of the book, paying for editing, cover design, marketing, everything yourself, but you get more money from the actual sales of the book.
Yeah, so you got to figure out how that's going to balance out. Greg has a question. How long does it take to go through the editing process and get printed and shipped once the book is complete? So basically, you've written your book, you're done. When do you get a book?
Well, if you've written your first draft of the book, the editing process depends on like who you're using to edit the book, how long it is,
and how much you suck at writing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. How many books you've written beforehand? Because if you've written like hundreds of books, your writing gets better and you get more efficient. And and also, have you got an editor available? Because the best editors, unless you're related to them, need time. They have slots and schedules available. So, yeah. But this could be, I mean, if it's a fairly short book, it could be like a couple of weeks to get the editing done. Mm-hmm. So that's not necessarily the bottleneck. In terms of the printing and shipping part, right? You need to format the book using some either software, or you pay somebody, find somebody on Fiverr that's basically creating a PDF file for the print book. Mm-hmm. And then you go onto Amazon's KDP interface, which is Kindle Direct Publishing, and that does both ebooks and print books now. It used to be a separate interface. It used to be something so create space, but now it's just all one in one. It's called KDP Print now. So you upload your PDF and you enter the details and you set everything, and then it's typically about between 3 to 5 days before your book is available.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, the ebooks are quicker. The ebooks about a day.
Yeah.
Before I forget, in the few minutes we've got left, the other big development was what's called print on demand. Mm-hmm. So, for example, this is a print on demand book. This is a KDP print book. So what does print on demand? That was something else that happened in about 2008, I think. It used to be the fact that if you wanted a book, you had to print, or you had to get like 200 books and they had to sit in your garage somewhere, and then you had to sell them to people. But print on demand is basically when somebody orders my book on Amazon, it sends a little signal to a printing factory somewhere in the US or UK or wherever you order the book, and they print off a single copy of your book, and that's shipped out to
How is that
the
cost
consumer.
effective? That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's print on demand, and print on demand are fairly good. I mean, they're not as good as a normal print run, but on the other hand, you're not stuck with like warehouses full of books and having to manage stock.
That's huge.
So, I mean, that is, they are more expensive to the print. So if it's like Stephen Grissom or somebody they know is going to sell thousands of copies, they'll do a big print run of 1,000 books. But for most, and it also means that your book is never out of print, because traditionally it used to be they would print like 100 copies of your book, and then it would go out of print because they'd sell out, and they're like, well, we can't be bothered to print another 100 copies because it's taken 10 years to sell this Gritmon book. Now people can order your Gritmon book and it will be available, even if it's just one copy. So that's
the Gritmon book would obviously sell out instantly. Simon's saying that the profit margins are even worse for hard copy in traditional publishing. You get 10% of gross. Oh, that's terrible. That's no good at all, man. And but thankfully his was a bestseller, so he was all good. Clarice has a very good point, which is you said you can develop that waiting list, that email list where you're pre-marketing in advance and, find out when it's released. She pointed out you could probably use that for leverage with a traditional publisher, because if you've got this wait list, you're showing that there is, in theory, some demand for your book, and you might be able to get some sort of better deal.
I've been told that traditional publishers are looking at the number of Twitter followers and things like email and following. I'm surprised they haven't been cherry picking more traditional, more self-published authors. I know they have done it occasionally. And certainly Amazon's the best. If you want the best kind of traditional publishers to make money, go with an Amazon imprint rather than a traditional publisher. So Amazon have their own publishing houses and they pay much higher royalties than traditional publishers, but you don't get the cachet because nobody's heard of all these sort of Amazon imprints. But they're the ones where they basically, because they've got access to all the Amazon figures, so they know which books are selling, so they steal the best self-published authors and offer them print deals on their service, and then they use their own internal Amazon print thing, Amazon marketing, to actually push the book internally.
Interesting. Are there any stories in your book, or that you can tell personally, of someone who did get an opportunity, or whose opportunities were really opened by having a book? I mean, I'm sure there's loads of stories. You mentioned yourself something that you recently spoke at. So,
this is where I'm trying to think. Yes, I'm sure there are. I mean, it's I'm having a small mental block, but as I say, even on my own case, it's kind of like, and I've not been leveraging the book as much. I mean, there is I think there's a kind of you need to, as you say, you need to do the marketing of the book yourself. So for whatever your purpose is. So are you looking for sales, or are you looking for authority? Are you looking to take it and give it to somebody at a conference and just hand out book? So this is page 69.
I just realized, I was like, I haven't put your book in there yet. I got to do that. But go ahead.
I mean, the book is available as an ebook. I'm not yet done the work, because I've been slack to make it available in bookstores, but I'm not sure anybody want to buy it in a bookstore. So that's kind of not massively a priority, but it'd be kind of nice to be able to say to people they could go into a bookstore and ask for it, and then somebody could order it.
Like our friend Chris Strub, his 50 States, 100 Days book. He's very excited that he's in the small bookstore in his hometown, which is really nice. That's got to be very special to have that.
I mean, again, that bookstores, if you want to make money, don't try and sell your book in bookstores.
Interesting, because then there's another cut taken out.
Well, it's a massive cut, and a lot of self-published authors are like wondering why they're making no money from bookstore sales. And it's because the way that bookstores work is they take half the cut of the book straight away. Oh, wow. And that's not so, or the print costs. So the cost of printing the book, which could be something like $2 to $3, depending on the book and how long it is. That's taken out of the other half. Oh. Then you've got whatever percentage of the rest of the book you've got back. So yeah, you can see how, and also if a bookstore can't sell your book, they can return it to you, which means you've got to take the cost of the whole book back.
And then you've got more in your garage there. That's not good.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the reason why for years traditional publishers were so big, and you had to go through a traditional publisher because they're optimized for traditional bookstore sales. They can do big print runs. They have got staff to go around the bookstores saying, will you order my book? And will you sell this book? Because bookstores have got limited space. They've got to pay all the staffing costs. They take this huge cut. So it's kind of traditional. The traditional bookstore model works well with traditional publishers. So it's not really a place. Self-publishers can do it. Like self-publishers can pay to be in airport bookstores, for example. I think you have to pay 10 grand or something to be available in US airport. Whether you want to is another matter altogether. So that's kind of the that's where traditional publishers, if you want your book to be available in bookstores, then go with a traditional publisher. Though I will tell a brief anecdote. I think we're running out of time. But
yes.
2 years ago, when I came back from social media marketing world, I went via Boston, and I thought, well, I went into a local Barnes and Noble in a shopping centre near, because it was snowing all the time. It was basically a terrible trip because I could hardly go out because it was like snowing in March. And I thought, right, I'm going to go into the marketing section. It had a whole shelf full of marketing, and then see how many speakers at Social Media Marketing World book were available on that shelf. In a typical Barnes and Noble, there were two. Joe Palizzi and Andrea Vow. And Andrea Vow's was co-authoring part of a Facebook for Dummies book.
Oh, my goodness.
So this was like out of 60 or 70 speakers at Social Media Marketing World, which is the premier social media conference. There must be at least 40 or 50 people who are traditionally published there. And only two of their books were available at this typical Barnes and Noble.
That is crazy. So I'm gonna ask you a couple, just like two more things, and then we gotta go. Last week I introduced 5 questions. So I'm going to have 5 rapid fire questions at you. Just don't explain them. Don't think about them. Just answer the first thought that pops into your head. Okay?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Question 1. Ebook or real book?
Real book.
Kindle or Nook?
Kindle.
Hardcover or paperback?
Paperback.
Fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction.
London or New York?
London.
All right. And then finally, if someone out there has a book in them, someone out there, a nonfiction book, let's say it's something on marketing, for example, since we are talking about social media marketing. If someone has a book in them, what do you suggest they do to like get the thing started?
Well, you can listen to my podcast for a start,
which is called
Begin Self-Publishing, and it's available. Well, you can go to beginselfpublishing.com and find it there, or you can go onto Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, all the various podcasty places. And there's loads of great resources out there. I probably should set up. I think I did have a book resource page on my podcast. I need to set that up again. But yeah, there's lots of resources. It's basically you're running a project. The main thing is to get the book started, and then ideally with a plan, get it finished, and then just carry on. So that's the main way to get ahead with self-publishing.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very, very much, Tim Lewis, Stoneham Press. And we are going to, his book link is there in the comment thread, and as well as his wonderful book that I am in. Another link that is going to be very important for us to show you guys is I want to show you my link to, I just created the link for next week's show. Again, just to remind anyone who may not have heard at the beginning of the show, I am not going to be here for the next 2 weeks. The next 2 weeks, I am going to be recovering from surgery. But I do have some fabulous guest hosts lined up. So next week's guest host, and I don't know why this isn't showing up, but next week's guest host is the fabulous Doreen Morin Van Dam, and she is going to be talking about content strategy. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the link that I just created. She's going to be talking about content strategy with Azure Collier. Here's the link. Yay! So I'm going to put that in. Next week's show, hosted by Doreen. Yay! So that is in there. Everyone make sure that you watch next week and give Doreen and Azure lots of love. They're going to be talking about content strategy, and there's a big announcement in next week's show, so make sure you don't miss it. And then also the following week, Friday, February 1st, my own wonderful Mr. Gregory Gritmon, who is not a social media marketer, is going to be talking to a social media marketer about why you would want to be on one platform versus another. Kind of what are the differences that would make you want to be on one versus another? Because you don't have to be everywhere. I mean, I am, but I'm special. So that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I do this every single Friday at noon. Again, the next 2 weeks, the show is going to keep on going, and I will see you in this space on Friday, February 8th myself. And give me your good healing juju, anything you got, because, you know, my throat is going to be needing some love. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.